Good afternoon. It's Friday. I'm on holiday. It is only a better day. To be fair, I've had a fair bit of rest. I've watched some TV. I've done some cross stitch. I got up when my brain was ready. And I am distinctly feeling a little more chill, although the dog's just about to wreck the couch. And for those who missed yesterday, not yesterday, because I didn't stream yesterday, idiot. Wednesday. I've lost track of time already, and I'm not. It's day one of the holiday. So, for those who missed it, you may recall I was working on a bookmark, and this is going to look at a funny angle, but never mind. So, let me move this down here so at least it's a bit flatter. So, this is my little bookmark. I've trimmed the tail a little bit. It is distinctly unperfect. But you know what? Despite everything, despite not being into frills, despite not really being a lacy girl, despite all of those kind of things, including the ugly picos, even the successful ones like these ones here, or the unsuccessful ones like these ones here, or even worse, this monstrosity that's kind of got a solar flare coming out of it. There's one thing about this lace that really puzzles me. The middle is really stretchy. The edges, of course, are not. But I really like this. Now, I guess the stretchy middle makes a bit of sense. Why does it make sense? Buck's point is not normally bookmark material. It can be bookmark material. There's no reason why it's not bookmark material. But it primarily is clothing. Its main use is clothing. So having some stretch in it makes a lot of sense. Because obviously, as you move the wear and tear, you don't want it to be too rigid. You want it to be able to move a bit with the fabric. And so, because you wouldn't normally do two really solid lines down the sides, you would have one solid line to attach it with, but then a more decorative other side. It makes sense that it stretches, but I really like that. It's a bit small, as you can tell by my hand. It's a little bit small, and I would like to do it again without the wretched picos, because, well, screw picos. I would like to make the edging and this bit of groundwork in the middle just that little bit further away and a little bit bigger. So enlarge it, but without making it ridiculously bigger. But I do have a number of bookmarks in Buck's Point now, and considerably quite a few are bigger than this. And I do feel I will be making more of these because I really like this one. Despite the many mistakes, so there is a bit where there's a floaty bit where obviously some threads there they are. These threads here got caught. I don't know if you can overly see that. Let me zoom in a bit, hang on. Zoom. If I ruffle them slightly, you might be able to see. There you go, you can just about see there that obviously some threads got caught on a pin somewhere. Because, well, as we know, the pins are really good at that. So, this is my bookmark. And as I say, many of the picos are the ugliest things in the world. It makes it look really old and dog-eared, to be honest. But I actually really do like it. I have become rather attached to it. I mean, like, obsessively kind of attached to it, which is kind of weird for someone who's not into lace. I really like the little eye things in the middle, the eye kind of ovally eye-shaped things. Although, because you've got the little holes in the middle, you primarily see the round hole. So there is a bit of me that is very tempted to make these more round than oval, because, well, these ones on the side are almost too small. I mean, this one managed to get a hole in it, so did this one. And a couple of them, the little hole in the middle shows, but for most of them, the little hole's a bit squished. Now, some of that, I think, is because the thread is marginally bigger than it should be. And I mean it is marginal. Well, it is marginal. Been doing a bit of research, trying to find out what threads are more... Because I thought this was the right size. I really did. But apparently not. This, arguably, could be very, very similar to these. Now, we had a catastrophe earlier. Dog, not sure which one, although I think it was a black one. Dog did the famous let's knock off the thing, right? So, but because I'd pinned all my things down, yeah, these two are almost the same size. So this is almost my net curtain thread, and it should have been a bit finer. And I thought it was finer, but being a different brand, apparently not. So, but as I say, dead pleased with that. But, and I've done, as I said, I've done a bit more of my cross stitch. I'm putting in some light green bits. Yeah. But anyway, let's do some of this. So, as I was saying, Dog knocked this off, but because I'd pinned all of the bobbins in sticks, as far as I know, there is no real catastrophe in actual terms. The actual work itself is safe. So I'm just trying to move the table forward just a tiny little bit so you can see the top. Now, I do want to look at this corner here briefly with these, because this corner pin no longer has anything really happening to it. So we need to look at this as our first point of call. Now, it could just be all that needs to happen is cinch like this. And indeed, that probably is just all. Now, some of these bobbins are no longer in their packets in order, because they did try and escape. But they're all still with their packets, which is the important factor. And so we are, for the most part, good. So we do a bit of that, which is what we have historically always done on the corner. And we do a bit of that to get to the corner. We can start. I'm doing it while I'm here, so we can put a pin in there and turn it back around. Now, we can lengthen everybody because, well, we're starting from the top. Actually, okay, so we are back to our more regular, I know you've seen it all before, lace making, but I am pleased that we have done that which we did. And why does this bobbin look really, really fatly loaded of thread? Anyway. So, let's try and straighten you up a little bit. That's better. So, we don't need you for a second. We will. We have you And actually, you undo that, you stupid woman, and you cover your pin. And we get the next one. It's not straight. As a result of the dog leaping on it, the table took a little bit of a objection to it. It's been really happy for ages, and as you may have noticed in the Bucks Point videos, I did not have this constant need to adjust them. But here we are. Dog's upset the table, and now we need to readjust them. Oh, for fuck's sake, people. As always, the moment I go online, ping. Let go by mistake. Come on. Now you're a bit short. Of course, you're a bit short. So, yes. I have this real big burning desire to do a neck curtain in Bucks Point. Although a stretchy neck curtain could be interesting. And it would be probably quite floral. Let me show you this. Now, one of the ones I bought, because I have had some of them come through the post, is this one. And as you can see, there's like these little flowers with like little doody bits. I actually thought that would have made a really kind of interesting like neck curtain kind of effect. Maybe we slightly altered, but it would make quite an interesting effect. So, yeah, I was also talking to some lovely people last night, and we were all on the channel of the Travelling Tatter. In fact, let me do a bit of a shout to that. Of course, you're not in the box. God help me that you've got one typable box on the entire screen, and you weren't in it. Of course you weren't, Mouse Potter. Oh, for fuck's sake. So, this was the lovely lady that we were talking to, and as she kind of agreed with me that bookmarks are a really good thing because they're practical, and almost everything can be made as a bookmark. If it comes in strip form, it could now be a bookmark. But by making a bookmark, you make something useful. Having strips of crap that you put in a bag that you never use isn't her kind of thing either. So making a bookmark is a very valid one, and she was kind of on my side with that, which was nice. And Silver of Dragon was there, who comes here too. Everybody had a good chat about lace, and because tatting is a different form of lace. Tatting does not use multiple strands in the same way, say, we do. Tatting can use multiple strands, but almost more for if you want different colours, you have obviously one of each. Whereas they do loopy-loop things and kind of knots and make pretty things that way. So it makes a very different style of lace, very more, I won't say more open, because that's not specifically true, but it is a very different style, whereas most bobbin lace in some way has an element of mesh to it. Tatting does not. Tatting definitely does not. So yeah, it was really I had a really pleasant evening. I did a bit of cross stitch while we were all talking, because I wasn't doing this and I didn't want to start something else. Yeah, these are all really short and out of order, so these obviously took a bit more of a hit. And you've gone round a pin already, you infernally annoying bobbin, thank you. Fuck off, Steve. I'm looking forward to a game release, well, early access release later today. So I will probably be streaming later today, but it will be a game. So, game called Path of Exile. Now, I suck at it. I'm not going to pretend that I don't. But Path of Exile is... oh, I didn't change the thing, did I? Idiot. We're not making a bookmark anymore. Making. There you go. Dunk. There you go. Right. Suddenly dawned on me. After all the other things I checked, I didn't check that. When I did streaming before, I was streaming one game, so I never had to alter it. So it is, and because obviously lace making is not exactly a fast-paced sport, it's not like I have to update it often, so I do forget it, which is very poor and remiss of me. I do apologise. Oh, sod off, dog! Wouldn't be so bad, but they jolt me every time they do that. That's the bit that actually annoys me, not the fact that they bark and they're allowed to do that. I mean, sometimes I wish they wouldn't, but it's not the barking per se, it's the fact that he will now want to come up through the non-existent gap to go back to the gap he was in before he decided to go off and bark at something, you know. That's the infuriating part. Here he comes. Come on. Get your nose out of that. Dogs. Well, that's an idea. That's right, I just had an idea. Here are my reject pins, the ones that are bent or made bids for freedom, and I haven't sorted them out into fat and thin. What I can do is slide out there's a little plastic tray underneath, which is not easy to slide out. It doesn't. You more of force it out. I'd probably should put something like Vaseline on it to help with that. But I could take all of my reject pins. If you don't sit still, dog, I'm going to get really annoyed with you. Because we've had this discussion today. I'm going to take all of my reject pins and put my reject pins in here. And why are you doing this, Liz? Well, having the magnetic thing under my pot of pins worked really, really well. Let me put some Vaseline on this so I can get it out another day. Why do you have a tub of Vaseline? Because I do. So that Rory can eat it. Actually, it's not why I have it, but it seems to be his thought on it. Let's put a bit of Vaseline on this, and on this. There we go, like that. There we go. Wipe finger because now it's all greasy. And then we make sure we've got the right end out. We scrape off any excess. Give it a bit of a rub down. There we go. Oop. We found a washer. There we go. Now, so why did I want this, which was my second option? Because I can put my tin of pins on it and it helps keep them in the pin pot and they don't ping out quite so much everywhere, because although they're not held in the pin pot, they are encouraged to be in the pin pot by the magnet. So that's what we shall do. Not sure these pins are quite as magnetly held, just because there's not as much metal in them, I think, is. So they're not as strongly held in as the others were. But that's okay, because, you know, it's a thing. I mean, to be honest, you could make this, almost, with the buck's point. And instead of little rose crowns, you have the little kind of swirly circle things, which are basically rose ground, to be honest. They're done with half stitch and you make the roundy things, so they're pretty much rose ground. They just normally have a gimp round them. Well, instead of having a gimp round them, we could not. And then if we did the right kind of, we did buck's ground stitch instead of torchon ground stitch, this would have a very similar look, to be honest, because of course, as one particular thing Sid did say, you can do buck's point on this grid. So, if I was going to do this in buck's point, and I'm not saying I'm gonna, because, you know, there are limits to sensibility, but let's say I did, you would be more tempted to have gimps where the cloth stitch is. But I actually think it would look very similar, but the actual so I think I crossed this too many times. 1, 2, I did. The actual lace at the end of it would have distinctly different properties. It would be more stretchy. So I am kind of intrigued, just if nothing else, to see how it goes, to give it a try, because, well, why not? But that kind of flowery bookmark I showed you, obviously I'm quite tempted to do that a little bit more of a sheet, shall we call it, and then call it net curtain. But I do have the fear if it can stretch, that it would then sag. And that the weight of it could make parts of it stretch. Will you stop still so I can go over the top? Thank you. So yes. I did briefly worry that when I came back to doing this, I'd want to do it all wrong, having done this other style in between. And, well, clearly I'm not finding this to be the case, which I also find slightly weird. But maybe it's because in my head I was already kind of consciously thinking, I've got to be careful that I do the right things, otherwise this triangle will look weird compared to all the others. So. But yes, today is the first of my holiday. I might start that florally looking bookmark as a kind of an alternative thing that I, again, will do a little of offline, just because it means I can do some lace making without you. Not that I wish you not to be there, of course. It's not that, but I can do it as and when, rather than have to sit down and I've got to have my mic ready, I've got to have my drink ready, I've got to have all of these things, and the pressure of talking to you. Not that that's great, because I just witter about bollocks, but you know what I mean, right? So just having a bit of a side product that I can bring you in on and show you how I'm doing occasionally, and you know, it grows a bit faster because I can do it, you know, as and when time gives me 20 minutes. And that, you know, do it again with a slightly finer thread, because, well, that seems to be a thing. So I've ordered some finer thread, because, well, as I said, that's what they said, so... I do have finer thread, but they've said, you know, this is made with this, so I have ordered exactly that. So that there is no, oh, it's not the right stuff. It is exactly the right stuff. I've also, for my sins, ordered some beads. Now, I'm not 100% sure what I need these beads for. But I've ordered a small selection of seed beads in a light semi-see-through kind of category, so that they would go well with white lace, so that I may attempt adding beadwork to some lace. I don't know which, but I'll find something. Something else to play with. It was pretty cheap stuff, so you know, let's not get too excited. I think it was £2.40 for, you know, 17,000 or something. You know, we're not talking. They were little glass. They're little glass ones apparently, so they've got a little bit of weight to them. And it's not that I don't know how to add beads to my lace, I just haven't. Because, well, once again, you don't really want lumps in bookmarks, do you? But I'd rather have little beads than picots, that's for sure. So not that I was thinking of adding the beads instead of picots all the way down the edge or anything, because no, that's not a thing. but just, you know, something else to be poking with. And dear God, Bobbin, what have you done? That's your twist. And you're just being stupid now. Yes, you are. Being silly. So yes, back to triangle days. To be honest, I have this. This came with as a freebie with some stuff. And this is really... I don't know what it's actually made of. I'd have to... Jesus, Mother of God, really? It says it's 150 over 2, which makes it ridiculously thin, but it's not. This is not that thin. Hello, Tenchy Tench, my friend. Are you going to be doing Path of Exile 2 later? Well, I'm doing better now I'm on holiday, that's for sure. Oh, it is quite thin. But this is 150 over 2. Oh, it is considerably thinner, actually. So, yeah. They did indeed. yes, they are indeed. They have indeed made a second Path of Exile. Early access starts in about 5 hours. Well, 4.5 or so, I think it is. Difference this time round is your console playing friends can now play with you, and they added WASD movement as well. So they've added obviously tons of other stuff and changed loads of things, but the core principle is very much Path of Exile ish. It was a bit like when they made EverQuest 2, but done better, right? So, they've kind of taken Path of Exile, basically the same story kind of idea, but reinvented the world, updated it, and improved it, changed things. And it does look really spectacular. So, I shall probably be back streaming that later. I suck at it. Well, I suck at Path of Exile, but doesn't stop me enjoying it. I just suck at it. You're allowed to suck and enjoy it. I mean, I never did endgame because I never got that far. Usually because I went off and tried a different class in true usual Liz style. I don't settle on one class. I faff around a bit and see what the others are like, and I usually don't follow build guides or anything either. I just kind of go with the flow of, if the game gives me something, I'll either use it if I want to or not if I don't. I don't tend to buy anything. I don't tend to do any of that. But they've changed quite a lot so that things like your gear having, say, 2 green sockets and a red one, well, they don't have coloured sockets anymore. They just have sockets. So from that point of view, there is a lot less grief. So I'm kind of keen to see how it turns out. Being early access, it's not the full game yet, because, well, it's not even really into full early access yet. So that comes later today. So got an itchy foot. Oh, got a really itchy foot. You're really bent. Now you're slightly less bent. There you go. See, now's the awkward point where I need even more bobbins, but the pillow's getting a bit kind of crowded. So we know we don't need you yet. You're next. You all kept your order. That's well done. For those who missed it, the dog knocked the pillow off the table again today. But because everything had been pinned down in sticks, while a couple of bobbins came out of their sticks, they kind of all stayed together. So they tended to come out the bottom of their stick, not out the top. A couple did come out the top, but they clearly they were very much with still the bobbins of their friends. So it was quite easy to spot where they go back. And when I flipped them earlier as part of the sorting out to check that everybody was happy, everyone seemed to be, kind of in roughly the right groups, so it doesn't seem like we lost anybody, didn't break any threads or anything, so from that point of view, A near disaster turned out to be not so bad. It didn't take very long to sort it out at all. Hang on, gonna sneeze. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I did that kind of nah, 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 and then nothing happened, and it's kind of like, oh, for goodness sake. So it'll come back later. I'm sure it will. Because my nose is good at that. My nose is very good at having sneezes, because when I had a car accident years ago and I broke my nose, and it meant that my nose was at an angle, and I used to struggle to breathe through it, which is why by default I still tend to open my mouth and breathe through my mouth, because, well, it took them nearly Cool. I must admit, I didn't find Path of Exile until quite more recently. I mean, it's probably 2 years ago now. And I'm not a hardcore player, but I do find myself playing it again and again, and I go back to it. Whereas lots of other games I've kind of played for a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit longer, and then usually I kind of find that I've stopped and I'm not missing it so much. Games just don't seem... Back in the day, I mean, you know me from my Shroud of Avatar days, I'm used to a game where you kind of come home from work, log in, you eat there, you kind of almost sleep there, you become one with the world, and, well, every waking moment is kind of there. Well, I find it very hard that games just don't hold that interest to me anymore. I don't know whether it's because I've changed or just because the games just don't have that grab anymore. It just doesn't feel... Games don't seem to have that feel anymore. Why does that position look wrong? I don't think it is. I think it's just slightly illusionary. Right. So yeah, I'm so used to having a game where I want to be in it now. Now I am really excited for Path of Exile, and if it was open right now, I would probably be there. But, why are you so much shorter? So yeah, it's just kind of weird to me. But I'm really keen to do this Path of Exile 2. I hope it's as enjoyable as it looks. It certainly seems to be the talk of the town. So from that point of view, you know, lots of people are all kind of going, I've got to be there. So, yeah. I'm expecting teething problems when the gates open in a few hours' time. Just because, well, you know, 1 million odd people trying to slam through the gates is sounds quite likely. So apparently there's like 1 million activated early access keys. So from that point of view, I'm kind of expecting that, you know, everybody's going to try and be there from... But I think that's, again, one of the advantages of things like PoE, is that while there are many shared areas, there are also many not shared areas, and as a result of the not so shared areas, chances of survival in a overly crowded early access game are quite high. Example, when Qualm started, which was a private server version of EverQuest, a bit like P99. The day it opened, people literally worked out where the spawn points were by watching things pop, because they were fixed spawn points, and they camped a spawn point and didn't move. And so all the newbie zones, everyone was standing on a spot, and if you were like, you know, let's say there were 100 spots, well, if you were person 101, there was nothing for you to kill. Absolutely nothing. And it became really tiring, because people would obviously kill your stuff because they thought it was theirs. It just meant that everything was too thinly spread. There just wasn't... The game itself didn't react to the fact... It didn't respawn faster. It didn't... People weren't picking up their loot, so the bodies just lay all over the floor and you couldn't see your own. And, you know, it just was... It was a horrendous mess. And it continued like that for a while, because obviously, you know, let's say there are 100 spots. Well, then the next 100 people, when those people maybe moved on a bit, which in EverQuest takes a while, when they finally moved on a bit, and, well, the next 100 took their spots. And if you weren't quick enough, or you were, you know, you'd gone wandering off trying to do a stupid quest or something, well, when you got back, there were no spots for you, so once again, now there's still nothing for you to do. And it just felt really bad, and to the point I gave up in the first week on Guam. There was just not enough to go around. People were not being pleasant, and so I just didn't need that in my life. I'd been kind of excited because obviously I am a big EverQuest fan and I would love to be doing EverQuest, but not like that. No. That's why I like Monsters and Memories. It has a lot of that feel, but without the grief. The Travelling Tatter and group were discussing Blue Sky, which is a replacement for Twitter kind of thing. Or an alternative for Twitter. It's not a replacement of Twitter because it's not Elon Musk. But it is very much like Twitter used to be, but it hasn't got the cesspit feel to it that Twitter does. So it is quite a nice place to be. I'm going to do some sticks. Why am I going to do some sticks? Well, I'm going to do what I do like at the end, which is I'm going to convert to working the other direction now, so that I can not have quite so much of a crowded area, because it's getting a bit much. So, stick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pat you down a bit. Come back, you shouldn't be rolling away. Applied to my tables, not level. Right. Let's stroke you out the way. And let's do you. So. Have I got the right number of bobbins? It looks like it. So that's always a good start. We like that. So yes, PoE 2 is very much the talk at the moment. You know, they've updated the graphics, they've added some classes, they've changed the tree, they've changed the sockets, they've changed the ascendancies to an extent, and what that means. Yeah. I've only got one ascended character in a PoE 2, to be honest, so let's not pretend that I am the most experienced PoE player, but as I said, doesn't mean I can't have fun doing it anyway, which surely is the point, especially now I'm on holiday. So Holiday Liz is planning on filling her time with a bit of Path of Exile. So I'll grab you. And so for those who do not know, it's hard to properly explain Path of Exile. Path of Exile is potentially one of the most complicated games you've ever seen. It borderlines AD&D when it first came out. That there are thousands of things with thousands of options, and frankly, knowing them all is near impossible. But one of the beauties of Path of Exile is, to a large extent, don't worry about it. You can, it's like when you have a piece of software and it has some like basic options, and then there's an advanced option where you can go and tweak every last blessed bit, right? But you don't have to. And you get points that you can put into things on your skill tree. Now, the skill tree is a scary looking place. But the truth of the matter is until you've gone down a branch of a tree and because you can, like any tree, if you have this point, you can either have, well, it's much like doing this. From this point, the only place, you know, when I start the next one, the only pinhole I can work is this one. That's it. I can only do that. Once I've done that one, I could either do the one to the left or one to the right. That's it. And the Path of Exile skill tree is very, very much that way inclined, in that, yes, you open up the thing and there is this humongous circle of skills that looks really scary. But you can only really pick from like 2 or 3 at the start, usually 2. And then obviously once you've picked 2, one of the 2, you can either pick maybe 1 or 2 off that, or 1 or 2 off another. But I'm not wrong though, am I, Tench? I am not wrong. That's exactly how the Path of Exile skill tree works. Is that, yes, there's a whole multitude of a scary number of dots, but you can't do anything with a lot of them, so you only worry about... And so it does look scary, but what it means is that you can make a properly unique character by just sort of following along and, you know, maybe looking a bit ahead and going, well, I think I want to head over there. So, well, then you start opening up the tree in that direction so that you can get there. And it is almost no more complicated than that. And so, while it is daunting, because, you know, most games have, you know, like 20 skills you can put points into, and this thing's kind of got 100 and something, many of them repeat. The new ones, by the way, Tenchi, you know how, like, previously, if you started to a caster, or a witch, more accurately, you had a choice of, I don't know, health and mana on one side, and spell damage and armour on the other, right? And occasionally you'd come across an int point. Doesn't work like that now. You come across a stat point and you pick int from it. So you can change them and you can muscle up your caster. You can add intelligence to your melee dude. You can... It's PoE2's had a hell of a lot of work put into it, and I am really keen to see how it truly works. Now, obviously, everyone and their dog's going to be streaming Path of Exile later, and I literally mean that. Yeah, I mean, I've nothing against a small skill web. I really haven't. I mean, if you think, for example, with EverQuest or even Shroud of the Avatar, they had really small skill trees. But somehow it didn't matter. And I think it depends on how the rest of the game works with it. And historically, Path of Exile is, as I said, you can treat it fairly simply of, I have picked a character I wanted to play. I've gone through the world and I found this thing. Do I want it or do I not? If I not, I sell it. If I want it, I use it. Or if I want to keep it because I'm a klepto, I kept it, right? And what's that on my thread? It's just a moment. Okay. So you can find yourself, you don't have to involve yourself too heavily in some of the potential complexities, but you naturally almost learn some of it as you go. And much like my lace making, because the Path of Exile skill tree is such a tree and web of things, you can go, say, round this side, but you can still cross over here to come to this side, or you can come through this way and come back down here. There is no one true path for it, whereas an awful lot of the skill trees in games are, you may pick this first skill. Now that's it, that's the only skill you can have, so you've got to have it. Then, once you get to level 10 or whatever, you may pick one of two things. Once you've picked the one or two things, the whole other part of the tree is completely dead to you. You can't have any of that now. And that kind of skill tree is very limiting. And it means that, nearly every single, warrior, every single archer, every single caster is a clone. Now, you do still get that in some ways with Path of Exile, and I'm sure Path of Exile 2 will have some similarities in the long run, in that someone will go, I made this really sweet build, this is what I did, and they will tell you what skills they picked, what gear they got, what runes they got, whatever, right? And you're free to do that too. You can copy that and know that you are going to be 99% exactly the same as them. The only difference will be any gear you didn't manage to get. And I don't want to be a clone. I enjoy the process of going out, picking a thing. I like the sound of that. I don't like the sound of that. I don't care if everyone else thinks that, a warrior shouldn't have heals or something. But if I want to try and do that, well, I want to try and do that. That's my thing. And so you can be unique if you want to be. And no, you may not have the horrendous damage that some other tuner's got, right? But you're still you. You can still do things. But you will be able to do something they can't. And in some situation, maybe your thing is the better thing. And so the fact that not everyone ends up exactly the same. I follow a guy called Darth Microtransactions. And yes, he did follow a build guide at one point. But he, like me, would rather make his own decisions. Now, obviously, there is knowledge of how X works with Y. Now, obviously, one of the things that Path of Exile 2 is also introducing is more of a combo kind of scenario, so that skill A and skill B grants you far more than each would in their own right. And so for all of these things is that there is going to be some really surprising results and some really terrible results, and I'm going to have fun making all of the above. I may surprise myself with something, and I may surprise myself with how terrible it is. A bit like my Picos. Some of those Picos came out really, really well, and some of them did not. And And PoE is going to be the same. Some of my choices will be great, some of my choices will be okay, and some of my choices will be terrible. And I will learn from it, and I will have fun learning from it as I die 20,000 times. I am no stranger to death in Path of Exile. But that's the fun of it, is you get to enjoy yourself. You get to do something a little different. And Path of Exile has been one of the few games recently that has kept my imagination. The only other game that I keep going back to is Noita, but at the same time, I so phenomenally suck at Noita. But I have got a couple of mods on there, so it makes it easy mode, and I have finished a couple of times now, which spurns me on to try a bit harder. But to be honest, I don't quite know how I finished it. I just know I finished it, if you know what I mean. So I do know that Noita, much like Path of Exile, you can do it in about 3 or 4 levels, which is what I've done. And as I say, I don't know quite how I did that. Usually some mobs teleported me and I rocked up in the end area and kind of gone for it. But again, there are so many little sub-parts that if you have X and you do Y and you go here and you do this, that, I don't know, there's people who play with Noita are far more serious than I ever do. I just mess about with it. Talk of alchemy, which is you can combine various liquids and powders and things to form new things. Well, I've never done that. I think the only thing I've ever successfully managed to do was neutralise a bit of acid. Hardly the same level. So yes, but that's about the only other game that I really go back to. So yes, I will. At the end of my Lacey stream, I will order some food. I will eat my food, and I will probably be back to play me stuffing up Path of Exile 2. So, if you care to join me, you're very welcome. As always. Part of me doesn't know whether I will stream it or I'll just play it. Part of me says if I'm playing anyway, I might as well stream it. Join in the crowd and all that. So, but yes, here we are, making my lace triangle, or another lace triangle. Tenchy Tench, did you see my bookmark? Well, I sit down and I do this. Nah. Seriously. I streamed me making most of my bookmark. I really do love this bookmark, and I don't know why I love this bookmark as much as I do. But I really, really, really like this bookmark. I hate the edges, but then I knew I hated picos. But in some ways, because they look kind of beaten up and old, it makes it look like a really old. Well, the only other things was I did do a fair bit of this on stream over the last week. So I did kind of some of last weekend after I finished the triangle, and then 2 lots during the week, and they weren't that long, but as you can see, it's kind of a small bookmark really. And then she says, hang on, give me it. The other thing you see me post is this. So I had to extract it out of its little stand because it's on a stand so that I can stick it in front of me. Meetings. I did quite a bit of this last night, so I'm putting in the light green. And I put, well, as you can see, yeah. Well, I say flowers. I mean green flowers. I mean, I ask you. But this thing, at the moment, there's kind of like the green leafy bits here. I've done these 2. I'm working on this one. I did some of those last night watching someone else stream. One of the advantages of cross stitches is you can stop at any point and start at any point, technically. You don't have to kind of unpack a pile of bobbins. You don't have to then secure a pile of bobbins. You can pick it up, go stabby, 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 stabby. I'm bored now, and stop. And so it is quite an easy thing to pick up and put down. Just a shame I hate the colours. I did buy me a thing on that thought, tench, which is the DMC thread chart. Now, they are technically not DMC. They are Anchor, that's the word I was after. They are Anchor threads, but DMC bought Anchor, and basically there is a kind of one-to-one mapping almost of the colours. So should I want to do this again, I can look at a pretty colour chart, and although I'm still not convinced that that's actually the chart that it kind of made out that it was. Let me actually open it and look, because I'm pretty not convinced this has got all the embroidery threads in it. It might have only kind of like special ones, if you know what I mean. Might not be the full one. Let me have a look. I mean, it's got quite a lot. Oh no, I call that quite a lot. So, for example, I do this. It's like a paint chart, right? It is a printed one, not a physical, here are actual threads. But, you know, I could sit there and I can map out and go, well, that colour's near enough that I liked that colour. That I would prefer this colour to go with it. So I can do that with it. These ones were at the beginning of the triangle. The bookmark did have different bobbins. She says it should be round about here. There we are. Yes, the bookmark had little square bobbins so that they don't roll around quite so much. They're kind of a bit small, but they're not that small. They feel small in a way, and I can't explain why they feel small, because if you look, if I do this, they're really not that dissimilar in size. But one of the good things about them is they've got a flat neck to them. So do these, whereas, as you know, some for example, these ones, which are significantly bigger, these ones don't have a flat neck, and they annoyed the crap out of me. because it kept slipping. So it's not that I hate those, the big ones. It's just that they're different, if you know what I mean. So yes, I have a lot of bobbins. I am a klepto. Welcome to my life. So yes. I quite like cross stitch. I never got into it before. I mean, my mother used to do it, and I kind of looked at her like she was funny. I know quite a few people who do cross stitch, and again, it never appealed to me. Absolutely never did. And brain, in its usual fashion, woke up one day and went, I want to do some cross stitch. Okay, I'll buy a cross stitch thing. So I bought the little biscornu thing, which is what I'm making. But I also have a Winnie the Pooh thing to work on, which technically I probably should have started on first. But it is huge. It is quite big, and as the result of being quite big, that was slightly intimidating because it was big. Oh, you can't. Mr. Paws can't get his best comfortable because I'm taking up too much of my seat on the couch. Mr. Paws. You get comfortable and do dog things. Go on. Well, you're super bent. They need to make a device that unbends pins, because it is harder than it sounds. Don't jog my arm. The poor hard bun done by dog. Oh dear. Poor dog. The poor deprived, the poor neglected animal. some pin pushing. So that means you, possibly not you actually. Of all the pins, the first pin I do is probably not the pin I need. Not you, but I can do. Oh, can't see them. They are like they go through like this invisible field. It's really hard to explain. They do go through like an invisibility field where I just cannot see them at all. And I can remove a bunch of you because we have now done the join. And we know we forgot to do a lot of this last time, and it was stupid, so we will try and remember to do more of that. One of the things that I did find a little alarming when I thought about it. So, my lovely beloved bookmark that I have just finished, my Bucks Point bookmark, I used some cotton that I thought was pretty damn tiny. But it wasn't really. I mean, it is, but it's, you know, not comparatively speaking. It was a bit fatter, but not too much fatter than I should have done. And then I realised that the thread that I used is arguably the same size thread that I've been recommended to do my weaving with. And I would barely call it sewing thread, let alone, you know, expect it to hold up under weaving tensions and do all of that. So there was a little bit of me going, you weave with this? You weave with this human hair level of it? Okay. You do you, love. I'm kind of not going to join you on that one. I should try it, I think is the short answer. But Jesus, the idea just scares the bejesus out of me. Because weaving is not for the faint-hearted, or at least the setup isn't. If you think kind of lace making with its many little dots is intimidating, weaving is worse. Because if this was to be woven in some manner, every single one of these pins would have to have thread that was tensioned and put in the right order and threaded through the right things and a whole myriad of other crap which you inevitably get wrong. And it's just a lot of work when you set up your weaving loom. And then of course the actual weaving of it doesn't necessarily, you know, again, much like lace making, weaving can grow quite fast, but of course it is dependent on, for example, for a better explanation, like knitting when you have rows per inch. Well, if you have, you know, 8 rows per inch, it's going to grow one heck of a lot faster than if you have 40 rows per inch. And obviously weaving is very much the same kind of deal. Is that, yes, you have rows per inch. They're called picks per inch, but they're still rows per inch. And, well, a bit like using a knitting machine. The number of across bits doesn't really matter, because when you go pop, it travels through them all. The distance is more the matter than the actual number of warp threads. But you still have to have measured each one out, and obviously the more of them there are, the worse it is, the longer it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so from that perspective, you have, you know, it is bad, but from the actual weaving perspective, once they're there, it doesn't really matter whether they're skinny or not. What matters is how many picks per inch you have to do. And this, of course, is where it all starts getting a bit scary, is when you've done half an hour's backwards and forth and it hasn't really grown yet, because you've only actually done half an inch worth of picks. And that, my friends, is where your brain starts going, I'm not sure this was a great idea, you know. And of course, much like everything, the more picks, you know, stitches across and down you have, the greater the definition of your picture, the more glorious it will be. Same with my cross stitch. That's 25 count cross stitch. There's 25 little tiny damn crosses across the bottom and 25 up. So that's a ton of little crosses in a square. I'm not sure what 25 squared is. Alexa, what's 25 squared?
25 squared is 625.
So 625 little tiny fucking crosses in an inch? Yeah. So, but it does make the picture look glorious, because, you know, it's a bit like looking at your TV versus one of those big ones you get at, say, concerts, where you can see, like, you know, dinner plate size squares as the pixels. That is the difference. But it's, you know, unfortunately though, then you've got to have the 58 billion pixels. And someone's got to change them all and do things with them. This one's gone a bit wonky, because as you can see, the bottom's risen up. There we go. Let's have a look. Still not happy with the length of view. Right. So, crossing. No, I worked this out last time. How did I work this out? Why, you are not right. Let me take that pin out. Not that I can see it clearly. I really can't see these damn pins. It's coming out. I don't feel I got you in the quite right place. That's a bit better. you down. And you. I so carefully wound these bobbins and every single one of them's being a shit. Very few of them are acting like they should. They're all kind of getting stuck on themselves like this one. And especially this one. This one's definitely been awkward. So, you have a twist, I think, like that. And then we will do that. Now, what we will actually do is put you over there a minute and bring you round, because look at the state of you lot. So let's try and extract you down to the same sort of length as the others. I've worked out what gives me backache. It's when I've got two hands over my pillow, not one. I don't know why, but it is. That's what gives me backache, is when I'm having to do two hands over my pillow, because I can feel my back stressing about it as I do it. Now, some of you are not where you're supposed to be. So, you seem to come from the next pack, actually. Oh, foot going to sleep, partly because there's a dog on it. Seems to drop something. Don't know when you made a bid for freedom. So you're definitely the next two. There is some shenanigans here. Now, that's because you are part of a rose ground, is it not? Yes. So you are actually correctly shagged it up. That's fine. You and two of you are mated. So let's borrow you two. Put you back and sort you out. So at least you're friends. Together, and you two are shagged up, as you should be, or your head is really in the way. Darling, I love you with all my soul, but you're in the way. And you know full well there's going to be more of this, you know this. You need to be crossed, you go there. So, we now extract my keyboard and put pins in. Like that. Give you a bit of tug. Twisty, twisty. One, two, three. We then want you. And we need you to stop sliding down. Seriously, look at the state of this. Ish. Let's undo you and see if we cannot tidy some of this up a little bit. See, we didn't do any of this with the other bobbins, I notice. We just happily did bit of lace making and got on with it. We didn't spend hours fannying around because they were slipping and being stupid. I might have to buy more of those other bobbins. I've got 200 of them. It's not like I haven't got enough. Oh, Just go between the pin and the hole. Stop trying to do other things. Let's have some Coke. I should have at least 5 here I can put in a stick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have to scrape them on because the cloth is not attached, but there we go. You are now sticked and can be put out the way. Oh, Rory, darling. Sigh, says the overly repressed, unloved dog. My face is drying up. Something else just fell off my table. What is it with flat things falling off flat surfaces? It's not like this was a small thing that fell off. This was wholly on the table and made a leap for it. making a bid for freedom. I have a sleepy puppy. He is sleeping. He's not yet snoring, but he is sleeping. Funny enough, these little bridge things are more designed for Buck's Point than they are for this, but they're just too useful for pinning threads down so they don't run away and leap off all the pins. Hey Nautical, I finished my bookmark. Did you see? I'm doing all right actually. Now I'm on holiday. I am feeling far more at one with myself. Was explained to Tench that Path of Exile 2 is coming out later. Well, is going into early access later today, so I shall likely be doing some of that, and I'm looking forward to killing all the new things. You probably did. Let me grab him for you. There he is. He is the tiniest bookmark you ever did see. And to be honest, the size of it actually was a bit of a sore point, because the video I bought, as you know, I bought those videos of from America of various lace making things, and this is one of the products of that. And the lady in the thumbnail, her bookmark is the width of her hand. Well, mine's 2 fingers, because this is the actual size of it. At no point in the video does she mention she's working on a bigger version so that you could see what she was doing. Now, it's logical, but when you look at your pricking and it's kind of the size of your finger, I mean, let's face it, if one of my fingers swelled up, I mean, if this finger swelled up a bit, it could cover 99% of this bookmark, right? It's a little smaller than I'd like, but I really like it. I'm really pleased with it. My brain is trying to work out how it would make net curtain number 2 out of it. Because as you know, I want to do one in one piece. And my brain's currently going, hey, we could do that. Yes, we could, brain. We could do a lot of things. It's a bit frillier and kind of girlier than I would normally find myself calling nice. And I really hate the picots around the edge, so... I know you know what pico is, you're not stupid, but if I zoom in on this, hang on, we want to go that way a bit. Let's play up a bit. Focus, please, thank you. These picots here. Oh, don't be doing that! No! He's like half a mile away. Don't care. Someone's flying a plane. Seriously. It's a prop plane. It's a bit dark for prop planes. Because he's actually one of the flying school ones. Yeah, I don't ask, I just know. Right, so there's a pico that really didn't work because there's a long loopy bit that's kind of shouldn't be long loopy bit. But these picos down here, well, apparently so. But what they also do is mean Rory gets out from his comfortable spot. He goes then off, and then, of course, now he'll, very, very shortly, he'll want back in the stupid spot that he was in and won't go the long way around. He'll come the short way around and annoy the crap out of me. Although, saying that, holy shit. Can we note this day in history? He went round the easy way for the first time in 4 freaking years. Yes, you good boy. Wow, yes, you good boy. You found that you can come back that way and you don't have to squeeze through all the shit. And now your sister wants in. No, you're not missing. You're not. If you would lie still, you'd be welcome to do the same. Fur face. For yawning in my face. Thank you very much. Yes, darling. I do love you too. You are equally loved, although more irritating. Because you do the barking, you set everybody off, he gets up to defend you over nothing. So don't pretend it wasn't you. So these picos here worked. Most of the picos did not work. But it gives it almost an older look to it. It looks like it's seen a few days look to it. And I kind of like that in that sense, although I don't generally like the fudged because it looks more like I buggered up the edging. Well, because I did bugger up the edging. But even the correct ones look a little bit more like the pinholes went wrong. That's what picos look like to me, is pinholes went wrong. But one of the strangest things about it, and I don't know if I can show you, is the middle is stretchy. So I do really like it. I really like these little eye things in the middle and their little holes. The swirlies at the edges, potentially, if I show this one, should have kind of holes in it. But because the thread was a little fatter than desired, the holes are not as obvious. So the swirlies down the side, the holes are not supposed to be, mind-numbingly obvious, but here's one just next to my finger down here that has got a bit of a hole in it. But I quite like these, but I'd rather they were round because kind of the inside is round. So next time if I did something like this, I'd probably round that a bit. I kind of want to do a bit more ground stitch. So there's a bit more clearance between the middle and the edge, and it would make the whole bookmark, a bit more of a practical size, to be honest. And so, but I really do like this. It makes it feel like it's something Granny made that I've kept. That's how it looks to me, especially because it's slightly dog-eared. So I actually really quite like it. And so, as I say, part of my brain's doing the, hey, we could do a net curtain in this. And then the rest of my brain's kind of going, you freaking stupid. And the answer to that is yes. And think that's also part of it, is sometimes when you look at it too closely, it becomes overly fussy and overly complicated for no good reason. And I think that because it is a twist, the actual fat threads that go through it literally always go, when they meet, the left one went over the right one. So it is a twist the whole way down. And it is kind of distracting when you look at the little kind of what the finer threads did in the middle of it, and the fact that the finer threads are doing anything in the middle of it. I was trying to work out how you could make it so you'd get the whole without like this inner ring of thinner threads in the middle. I am not overly knowledgeable, but at the same time my brain was trying to work out a good way of achieving that, because like you say, even I looked at it and it was like, well, I like the little eyeball things, and maybe, you know, could I make them not as little eyeball things? Could I make them as, like, you know, actual holes? So with that in mind, I am trying to work out how to make them less complicated, or at least appear less complicated, even if they're actually harder to do. So yeah, but I really like it, and I quite like, I showed it earlier, hang on, dig it out from underneath the bobbins, because I've moved them, of course. I have bought another thing. Now, it's not easy to see. Let me zoom in a bit on it for you, so you can have a better look. Try and get up a bit rather than move the thing. So this is a very similar idea. They've got the same kind of eyeballs making the flowers. They've done a honeycomb stitch in a kind of big area in the middle, and then they've got the fat threads that run down between each flowers. And I was thinking that this looks like a really good bookmark sized bit of net curtain. Perhaps the additional flowers here are a little bit much. Or that you'd replace maybe these with flowers, but you'd spread them out a bit more, so that it was a bit, you know, because otherwise it'd be a bit much maybe. But I do think that something like that could work as a nice concept, so I'm definitely going to try and make this. But as a size guide, because it's copyright, I will cover it with the old bookmark. But you can see, look at the difference in size. So there's you can see the dots of this is more of a bookmark size to me. And so I am very much keen to have a go at this one. But this one takes, she says, 34 pairs of bobbins and 3 gimp pairs. Well, the last one took 3 gimp pairs. That I didn't specifically have the problem with. What I had the problem with, much more of, is the 34 bobbins, in which is, well, the last one, that tiny 3cm thing, took half the number of bobbins as this square. Let that sink in a bit. So for this distance from here to here is the same number of, so if you could divide it in 2, which is going to be about here, it's almost, this is almost twice the density of this. So shit ton of bobbins. That's the biggest problem with that, because it's smaller threads and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, that could be fun. That's the word that people use for it, isn't it? Fun. keep your head still, old man? I quite like the swirlies down the edge, but they're too close to the middle for the bookmark. So in my mind, if the bookmark was more normal bookmark sized and spread out a bit, I think it would look better. So I have plans to work on that as well at some point, which I will forget inevitably because, excuse me, my brain does that. It has lots of ideas and then quite a few of them disappear by the wayside because another greater idea appears and it's too busy going, ooh, about the next one, and then forgets that it ever mentioned the first one. But I definitely think making that bookmark, but with a bit more space, making the middle bit would be exactly the same, but making it slightly longer, slightly wider. Fuck the picos, and seeing how it goes. I think that's definitely a thing. We definitely can be doing one of those, I think. But I also quite like the fact that it worked up really fast. I know there's not a lot of it, but it seemed to work. Considering how many bobbins there are, it seemed to work up pretty fast. That might be because it was new and different. And brain was kind of, oh, it's new and different, it's new and different. I keep seeing things move on my screen, and then when I look, they're the same. It's really freaking me out. It's the chat window. It's like something appears in the chat window and disappears, and I don't know what it is. But when I look up, it kind of seems to move in the corner of my eye, and then when I look at it, it's the same way as it was, but I almost see it like changing back. It's kind of weird. Something weird going on there. This bobbin really is gonna get on my nerves. But there's a lot of cotton on here to be undoing. Let's see if I can do something with it. A bit more than I did last time, which was very temporary. Let's see if I can sort this out, because it is a mess. But as I say, there's a lot of thread on here, so I'm not convinced. Of course, one of the biggest problems is you don't wind the thread around the bobbin, you wind the bobbin and the thread moves, which makes it more complicated to undo as well as redo back up properly. Bear with me a small ice age while I try and sort this out. I'm pretty sure we won't be getting down to you, so let's squish you down at the bottom and try and pin you down by twiddling the bit like this. I feel like I'm getting thread burn. Even though the bobbin's not moving that quickly, I feel like I'm getting thread burn off it. I did see a lovely lady who goes by YouTube of Galicia Bees or something. Galicia Bees. She has a nylon cord attached to her pillow, and what she does is she can wrap it around the bobbin, and then depending on how she tensions it, it spins the bobbin or allows her to slide it back up, and so she can wind the bobbin by sliding it up and down this bit of nylon thread without having to spend hours doing this, which is what I'm doing. Now I have got a bobbin winder, but it's the other end of my table, which is a metre away. Sorry, well, the bobbin winder's a metre away, the table isn't. And there's a potential knot forming, so I need to be hyper careful that I don't let that do its thing. Because the last thing I need is a frigging knot I can't get out. Because this, my friends, is what knot thread does when it's in the wild. It knots. You need to keep it under tension for it to not do that. And of course I couldn't keep it under tension because I was winding it out of my bobbin. So I only need one pin. I need a pokey pin to undo the knot. Glasses back on, because as with all things Liz, it's, if you want to do it closer than my arms, I really need glasses off for that. I still foresee this bobbin going badly later. I foresee it doing stupid things to me, but hopefully it'll be better for having been rewound, although it's still not as tight as I'd like it, even though I've got plenty of tension on it using my little fingers. It's kind of bouncing up. As far as I'm concerned, I'm winding it round the bottom, but look, you can see it's kind of gone a fair distance up, and yet I'm winding it round the bottom. So I don't know quite how that works, but it's happily doing that. Slightly shorter. Now, I need to pull you out and put you behind it. 'Cause it's easier than trying to wrap that round a pin. There we go. Put you over there. Put you in a stick. Is it really 4 o'clock already? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You, bobbin, you, my friend, are annoying. Why are you not letting thread out? Push you down, because you were doing all right until. And you can see why they're knotty, because like this, they're all twisty. Some of that is because they took a dive off the table earlier, I think. Gave them a chance to do a bit of Mambo number 5, or whatever bobbins do when they do their thing. And which is why they're all kind of tangling together, because the knots encourage that distinctly. So just let that calm down a little bit. It's definitely something about, it is definitely something to do with the two hands on the lace pillow that makes my back hurt. I just need to work out what it is so that it can stop doing it. Right, so let's have a look and tidy up. We have all of these bobbins, and we have this pack of squirrel bobbins here. So we've got 3 in there, so we need 2 more. 1, 2. That makes you neat and tidy. And you can go back under here, and we can strokey your threads to keep you out of the way. And all nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can grab you like this, place you under there, grab the pin, stab the pin, and put you in a pile. You are the other ones. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, you're also 5. So how have I got a spell? I must have stolen one out of another pack somewhere. Yawn, yawn. I did, didn't I? I stole one out of a pack, that's why. Stole one out of a pack to make you an even pair. Much as I have not achieved a lot today in the couple of hours that I've been doing this, I'm not unhappy with the progress of the day. Ice making is not a race. But I'm getting the yawns. I'm hungry. And my back is beginning to trouble me somewhat. Sadly, I think that makes this a good time to stop. I will be back tomorrow, of course. Does it every time. Everyone's trying to get hold of me, I don't know why. Nothing exciting, so let's take a nice picture of this bit. Like that. Have a look. It's looking pretty reasonable. So, just quickly checking something. Yeah. That's looking pretty reasonable. We are. We are most distinctly up for mayhem. Hurricane whatever, Bert and Charlie, Caroline, whatever it is, Karen is coming. And the UK is on a very rare red alert for winds, which is, well, as I said, very unusual. So, with that in mind, you know, I kind of don't want to send the food people out in the winds, so I'm going to order nice and early, because it's takeout night and, well, first day of my holiday, so screw cooking, takeout it is. I'm going to place you over here. Look at this. I'm going to wrap you round the end of this, but not officially tuck you underneath it. Yak! Eat! I haven't actually checked where I fall in the later stages of the category. I need to see what crops up where actually. You'd think it'd be on the BBC News website, wouldn't you? Rare red warning. Blah blah. I am not in the red zone. I would argue I'm not even in the yellowy orangey zone. But everything is still warning me of, 90-mile-an-hour winds and all the rest of it. So clearly I am not in as badly up for a night as you, Nautical. So my dear friend, please. Well, to be honest, if you're in the red one, you're going to be in all the rest, aren't you? But dear, my dear friend, with true sincerity, please take care. I mean, obviously, it's not a lot you can do about it. It's a natural thing. It will either come and bite you in the butt or it won't. But if there's anything I can do to assist, not that, well, I haven't got a working car, so I can't even come and get you, But if there's anything I can do, if you need a voice of reason or whatever else, you are most welcome to get hold of me. because, it's unpleasant and we don't generally suffer from this shit over here. So with that in mind, I will worry for you while killing things and probably, and eating crappy food. So, and thinking that the usual kind of, hey, weather scare, kind of like, because Gloucestershire Live, which is the local kind of news people around here. Oh, it's going to be tragically, 16 feet of snow in some country we're not in. Yeah, you'd hate for them to catch a cold and bring in germs. But no, I know what you mean. There was a storm, I think it was this time last year. Maybe it was the year before, fuck knows, I've forgotten. And I was really honestly surprised when I woke up the following morning and I still had a garden fence. It was one of those kind of storms. Because when I moved in this house, which was 6 years ago now? 5, 6? At least 5 years ago now. The fence on the left-hand side of the garden kind of was a little wobbly. One of the fence posts broken, but because there is a really massive tree the other side of it, it occasionally swayed in the wind, but it never really did a lot. And I mean, it really never did a lot. What made me laugh on this occasion is that there was going to be these really extortionately hard winds, and I really expected it to kind of launch into orbit, disappear around, to my neighbour's garden or something. When I woke up, a whole load of other fence posts were broken, and one particular, and the top left-hand corner was no longer attached, so you could kind of just stroll off out into the world. But the one fence post that had always been bad was exactly where it had been. It was about the only one that hadn't. So, and I can tell you now, fence posts and crap are really expensive considering what they are. I mean, I got a guy who did them for a really nice price, but an awful lot of people, holy crap. So yes, I'm not looking forward to it. I will sleep through it, because I can sleep through any of that crap. I slept through the 1987 storm with the 100+ mile-an-hour winds and trees leaping out of the ground all over the place. I slept through it, didn't even notice it was windy. Me and my dad got up the next morning, we had somewhere to go, we went out and there was a tree lying across the road. It was kind of like, oh, that's a bit of a shocker. So we turned around, went another way. Oh, there's another tree lying across the road. What's with all the trees? Went up another route. Oh, look, there's a tree in a house. Bit of an odd thing to do. Literally everywhere we went were trees. And we got home and it was like, Mum, what's with all the trees? And she went, did you not hear the storm? What storm? Says me and Dad. I am akimbo, right? We snore like navvies and we sleep through everything. And what neither of us had noticed is that there were trees missing from our garden and we hadn't even noticed. It was terrible. I went to a bell ringing thing the day after, so that was like Friday. That was a Thursday night, and I went on a Saturday too, because I had the Friday off school anyway. The rest of the county then joined us. We were all really miserable because we were the only school that was going to get the Friday off. But on the Saturday, I had a bell ringing thing, and I went to it, and we went to a place, a beautiful church in the middle of freaking nowhere. Huge, beautiful trees. Yeah, 90% of them were now upside down on the ground. And the craters that they left. I mean, seriously, they were like 2 people deep craters. And I'm not talking lying down people. I'm talking standing on each other's shoulders deep craters. These things were huge. It was like something out of Armageddon where all the all the asteroids had hit the ground. It was terrible. Yeah, I'm sure pretty much like you, the main concern is the cost of fixing it and the mess it might make on the way. It's the actual wind doesn't scare you per se. It's the mess, the cost, that's the bit that actually scares you. So yes, please keep safe, Nautical. It is, for those who do not know, we in the UK have really bland weather compared to the rest of you. We bitch and moan about it, but we really do. The worst thing we really get is a couple of inches of snow, a bit of ice, occasionally, usually only in the morning, some sideways rain, lots of rain, shit ton of rain, but because we're an island, it rolls off the edges, and, you know, we occasionally get a bit of flash flooding as a result these days, but even that's not really, you know, kind of some of the levels that the rest of the world see. I mean, it might be enough to cover a car in the exact right spot. And a couple of people have died from it, don't get me wrong, I'm not trivialising that. But compared to many other countries, we have nothing. We really, really do. And so for us to be on red alert is quite phenomenal, because, you know, it's like we don't get earthquakes. I know that they go, oh, there was an earthquake. We don't have any plates. We don't have any volcanoes. We don't have, you know, we don't really get tornadoes, hurricane. We don't even really get hurricanes. We literally get some strong winds, a bit of rain, some slightly cold and some slightly hot. But we just make meals of it because we're not used to any of it, because everything's so bland. So, much like our food. So, it is, it is, you know, it is one of those things. And so, please worry for Naughty Celts until, I think we're on weather warning of the whole weekend. So, please check in with me if you're good and how it goes, Naughty Celt. I will be looking out for those messages, because like everything, if you don't know anyone in the area, you can go, oh, that's a real shame, oh, that's got to be worrying, and that's as far as it goes. Maybe you know someone in there. Now it's a bit more concerning, because now you actually know somebody. So Naughty Celt, we worry for you, we wish you luck, and that your roof does all good things, doesn't leak, that the rats don't seek shelter, that and if they do, that they all rapidly die, because we all know how much you like them. May your rats infest your neighbours. That's what we truly need. Maybe your roof can rattle slightly, they get scared and bugger off to your neighbours. That would be nice. I wish you that in the world. But may you sleep and keep warm, and your dogs be happy, and not bark too much in the middle of the night because some thing moved somewhere. But I will maybe see you later in the guise of playing a game. And failing that, I shall be back tomorrow to do more of this, because, well, this is a good thing. It has kept me sane. The bookmark really did well in keeping me sane this week. I'm feeling quite positive now I'm not at work, and I can settle down for my holiday. So yes, I shall leave you with the dying shot of my lovely bookmark, for which I am disturbingly proud of. I really like that, and it's not that I don't like my other lace things, but for some reason I really, really like that. As you say, Nautica, I really like the kind of twisty bits in the middle. I need to do more. I have this real need. So I've ordered some thread and some more patterns so I can have a look and appreciate more of the combinations of other things that they do. I've got a book. One's mainly kind of florally ugly shit. One's kind of hearts and religious. It does, and so I am proud of it. It is a thing of beauty. And I think that's part of it. That's part of the reason I'm really pleased with it, is because it's quite different. It's much more rounded. It's not so geometric, but I actually like it. And so I think that hence some of the other things, I may need to do a few more bookmarks along the way in my neck curtain, because as you know, originally I was going to, at the end of the square, do a bit of a variant. Well, I chose to do it at the end of that triangle because it was a really good point in my life to do that. But I do think maybe knocking out a bookmark between each square while that drags it on even longer time-wise, mentally I think it's really good for me because, as I say, I really enjoyed doing this. So doing something like this, there is another form of lace making called Bedfordshire, which is stringy. That's the only way I can explain that one quickly. It's stringy. So it would have something in the middle, but instead of this little mesh behind it, it has like strings. It does like little plait strings that go between it. And it is quite delicate, and there are some really beautiful ones. There's a couple that I've seen that I really, really like. But I'm not sure I want to do them. I want to, but I don't, if you know what I mean. Is that I'm not sure that's really much my thing. This is a bit more my thing. I like the mesh background. I like all of that. So more of these, more of this style of thing. Because as I say, I mean, I've got. Let me quickly show you some of the other pictures I've got. So, you met this one earlier, which is obviously. There's this one, which has got coloured forget-me-nots on it. But if you think about it, it's not that dissimilar. It's just that those have been filled in with a thing and it's got a slightly different mesh. Then there's this book. I say book. Book is not really the word for it. But there are a number of things. Now, most of these are tilted with religion aspect. So there is kind of this one, which looks a bit wedding-y. There's this one which has got hearts, which that one's a bit more vague, but it's got a lot of beads in it. I'm sorry, beads in the middle of a bookmark? That would just dent the book. I can't see that being a... That doesn't feel like a plan. Oh, there's the pattern. I was trying to hold them together, but that's not working so well. Then there's this one, which is big flowers. Big flowers can work. That's designed for Mother's Day. Then there's Easter eggs, again with beads in. Sorry, beads in the middle of an Easter egg is not in the middle of a bookmark. It's not such a great plan. Then there is a cross for He Is Risen. Can't see me making that one in a hurry. Another cross, kind of He Is Risen job. Again, can't see me making that one in a hurry. I mean, I've got some friends who would appreciate it, but I can't see me making it. Christmas candles. That looks more like 3 devil fingers. We won't talk about that one then. Because they look like fingernails rather than flames to me. Some bells. I was quite tempted potentially with the bells. That's a bit Christmassy, but there's nothing wrong with that. This tends to have more pictures in it, which is why I think this is quite nice. Christmas baubles? No. As I said, this one's kind of a bit more religiously swayed, as I said. Then there is an angel with a cross on top. As I said, very more religiously based. And another angel with some stars on top. Is that it? I think it might be, actually. Yeah, that's it for that pack. As I said, it's not really a book, but it's kind of a book. So there, that was those. I didn't notice from the thing that it was a bit more religious. I have nothing against religion, don't get me wrong. But I hoped that there was a bit more variety in those. And then there's this one, which is not religiously based. So this one's a bit more normal, shall we call it. So this one's got kind of pinky swirly things. And then there's this one that's got a bit more geometrically kind of done. And then a kind of a whitey geometrically one. One with kind of little moths at the edge. I'm sorry, that looks like moths. Then there's this one with kind of fingers and bubbles. And yeah, this is a bit more generic. There's nothing wrong with religious-y ones, but you need to kind of give it to a religious-y person, otherwise you could be offending someone greatly. These are much more universal. So that's the one on the cover. Again, really not sure on beads in the middle of a bookmark. That just doesn't sit right with me. for some reason. There's this one which I quite like, but it's got tallies in the middle. Fuck tallies. Fuck tallies. But that's quite a wide bookmark, to be honest. I mean, it looks a lot thinner in that, but it's quite a wide bookmark. This one looks a bit more wedding-y, but it is kind of... Well, exactly. I quite like this one. This is quite pretty, although I'm not quite sure what the slug is supposed to be. And then we've got this one. This is quite pretty. I quite like that. This has no beads in it. Actually, it does have beads in it, but again, you could skip those in the swirlies. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. So yes, I've got a selection of additional bookmarks and a few more on the way. Because, well, klepto here. And so I've got a few more, so we have plenty of bookmarks to dot along the way and to provide alternative arrangements and change the tone of the day. But I definitely think redoing this a little bit bigger and a slightly more Lizzie-fied kind of manner. So not removing anything, but as I say, yeah, I think just making this a bit wider, a bit longer, and me putting a bit more ground between the swirlies, doing it with a thinner thread, I think could make a lot more. And fuck the Picos and all Picos and every Pico ever. Tallies are really close behind them, but at least I'm prepared to try tallies. Picos I'm really not up for. But I really love this. This for some reason this has really cheered my soul this week. So I'm dead proud of that. Partly because I think that woman on Facebook told me I shouldn't be trying it. Woman on Facebook was dead against me trying Bucks Point. She made it exceptionally clear. Thank you. And I was really upset because this woman, when I asked about, does anyone have any Bucks Point bookmarks, she banged on about how I was infatuated with torsion. And it's like, no, I'm making a net curtain torsion because, well, that's, commonly what we start with and what I decided I wanted my net curtain to look like. I never mentioned it and brought it up in this conversation, so can you off with that? And she just kept going on about how, oh, well, you shouldn't be making bookmarks with it, and you shouldn't, and and you'd be surprised the number of people who've commented on my bookmark on Facebook and like it, despite its many mistakes, mainly the Picos. But it is, there are a few, but for the main point, it's a really good, happy. Well, the one thing is mistakes or not, it is a functional bookmark, and this is part of the reason that I like bookmarks. Is rather than make a practice strip of something, a bookmark, while you can use a practice strip as a bookmark, it still looks like a practice strip. A bookmark is something, I mean, I wouldn't give this particular one away because it's mine, but if I'd wanted you to, this could have been someone's Christmas present. You can do things. It's clearly a bookmark. There is nothing else this realistically could be. Whereas a strip of shit goes in a bag, because, well, what do you do with it? It's a strip of shit, right? Whether you make it 5 meters long or 10 centimeters, right? It just is a strip of insert whatever it is, right? Whereas a bookmark is a thing. What is going on? I swear it just said it was doing ads. And now it started ads. Oh, fine. Oh, that's good. It's because, yeah, it funny stuff. It's been weird, but one thing I will say is that obviously, for anyone who is joining us on the Path of Exile 2 early release later, it's an 85 gig download. So if you are able to pre-download that stuff, for God's sake, get on with it, because just it. If you've got dog crap internet like me and my friend, who are planning to play later. It is available on console, Steam, and PC, and Mac, and a whole pile of other shit. But it's 85 gig. So, you know, it's going to take more than a couple of minutes to download unless you've got, you know, kind of really mega internet. And obviously, the more people who are downloading it, potentially the slower it will be. So, I do believe they're also trying to put up a torrent for it. There are around 1 million people who have redeemed keys and stuff for it. So, it could be busy. But, knowing Path of Exile, they really do seem to have their stuff down pat. I will probably stream it, at least to start with, because while I wander around, just why not? I mean, it's almost a case of just turning the mic on and doing it. But yeah, if I start soon, I might even be able to upload this video before Path of Exile actually starts. So, but I will be back tomorrow. We will be doing more Triangle, possibly talking about bookmarks, because, well, why not? No, I haven't tidied up at all today. We didn't do that on day one of my holiday because, well, it's day one. I'm allowed to relax on day one. But I do feel a lot better today than I have done all week. So it could happen. Could. I mean, I don't want to, but it could. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, for those who can join me. If you watch this on YouTube, please like and subscribe so you get notified. For the rest of you who do not follow, maybe, I try and stream this time every week. Take care, Tenchi. I do try and stream this time every week, but I do try and stream most days with lace making. This week has been a bit different because I've been really stressful with changing of employer. But now I'm on holiday. Yeah. Well, basically, fuck everything. And so I am in a good mood. And hopefully may the good mood continue, and we shall be streaming most days, preferably for longer, or at least maybe, you know, a lunchtime one and an evening one a little bit. Maybe some of them will be different. Maybe I'll start to bookmark just to kind of break up the stream a little bit and do like a, you know, alternate kind of thing. A bit of variation. But if you want to see anything, let me know. If you don't want to see anything, let me know. Let me know either way. However, I shall be back later for Path of Exile, but lace making wise, I shall be back tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and Naughty Kelp, be good with all that storm, and anyone else in the UK who is, or anywhere else in the world that is currently suffering from bad weather or otherwise catastrophes. Please take care. We will miss you. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.